The next stop on your tour is right here in the Blizzard Entertainment Sound Department. I'm Russell Brower, and I'm the director of this fine establishment. I'm also one of the composers. We consider ourselves primarily storytellers here, and we spin our tales with music, dialogue, and sound effects, all of which are hopefully as unique as our virtual worlds themselves. Well, in terms of the music for Starcraft 2, we generally divided it up along the lines of the different races. So Glenn Stafford worked on primarily the Terran music, Derek Duke did the Zerg music, and I did the Protoss music.
Well, big surprise, I'm doing the Terran music again. I just got back from New York, recording with a live band.
We went to Woodstock, New York, and did this session in an old church that's been turned some 25 years ago into a recording studio. Beautiful reverberant space, lots of wood surfaces, very just kind of vintage sounding, kind of an old rock and roll sound. And everything from the mixing board to the microphones, all of it was designed to have a sound that you associate with older records and just kind of an old rock and roll sound.
It definitely has a raw cowboy edge to it. You know, holding true to the Terran sound from StarCraft 1, but really taking it way beyond the production quality and what went into the original tracks. We can, but we missed, we didn't get the accent at 27.
Oh, okay.
These musicians are people who have played with just the most legendary musicians on the planet. They're studio people. They've played with a lot of our heroes and people we admire. We brought them all in one space, and they brought a level of musicianship and musicality to these songs that is just amazing.
That'll represent a good portion, anyway, of the Terran music that you hear, at least in multiplayer mode and in the single-player missions when you're just building up troops and things like that.
Getting a chance to work on the Zerg music again after all these years is fantastic. It's a big shift of gears going from World of Warcraft into Zerg, but it's fantastic. The music has a different kind of energy. Basically, when I'm working on the Zerg music, I almost always have the lights turned low. I definitely look at the artwork quite a bit. For a while, I had my digital picture frame full of just concept art, which upset my family quite a bit when they walked in and saw the Mutalisks and Hydralisks cycling through the present they had given to me. It usually starts with creepy drones and low sounds, and there's always elements of noise to me that speak of the Zerg, you know, little creepy crawly sort of textures, and maybe there's weird high, whining sounds and stuff like that sort of create us like the Zerg family space. And then you have there's always usually a heavy bass drum that comes in at some point, and it's usually delayed because it's in space.
From the very beginning of the project, I put drawings, concept art, backgrounds, settings, whatever I could find from either the game development group or the cinematics group of the Protoss and their ships and everything that I could find. I put it on the walls and studied them, and I let that imagery sink in over time. So while I'm writing music, even if it's for something else, I'm kind of soaking all that in, and it comes out eventually in what I write. Their soundscape is a layering of mystical whisperings, and it's kind of musical hieroglyphs, if you will. And I try to infuse those kind of sounds with fairly traditional orchestral melodic sounds for emotion, and then some textures created through synthesizers or sound design that bring a level of magic or just ethereal otherworldliness to it. One way we differentiated the soundscape in its feeling and emotion from our other work, being World of Warcraft or Diablo, is we took our orchestral recordings to a completely different orchestra and a different stage. And so we went to Skywalker Sound up in Marin County on the legendary Skywalker Ranch. And there we got a more traditional film score type of sound to the room, The players in the ensemble were playing in a way that was just, it felt more like a film score rather than the more kind of primitive sound we've been going for in World of Warcraft. Whereas Starcraft is a little more space fantasy, and the melodies are a little more intricate, the rhythms are more intricate, and it's just a different sound.
I think the StarCraft 2 universe, in all of our minds, really does exist out there somewhere. And from my end of it, handling the dialogue, it's imperative that we found the perfect voices that really brought our Tychus and our Clotworthy and our Kerrigans to life.
The galaxy will burn with their coming.
Casting for voiceover actors goes through several rounds. The first is to kind of cast your net wide and far, and that requires myself and our team going through hundreds of auditions, listening for that one thing that somehow channels your character. And then from that it goes through our different development teams. And then we have the callbacks where we bring the actors in person into the studio and work with a talented voiceover director to kind of direct them more into our role. Voiceover acting is very interesting. Even when I started, I thought, oh, it's so easy. You just get in front of the mic and you read the lines. And after working in voiceover as long as I have, it's such an art. Movie actors and TV actors can rely on their body language to convey emotions and to kind of, emote what the character's going through, whereby a truly talented voiceover actor who only can use their voice to convey deep emotion or anger or rage is so challenging. And people tend to think, oh, it's so easy, we can use anybody, but really, when you get a good voiceover actor in there, there's been many times I've been in the booth and we're silent because we're drawn into the scene because the actor's so good. And just through their voice, we're there with them, living what they're living and seeing what they're seeing.
Where we really get to have a lot of fun is with the piss lines. That's what we call them, the piss lines, and that comes from Warcraft, where you clicked on a unit several times and eventually that unit would get pissed off and start saying nasty things to you. Thor was a really fun character. One of the avenues that we wanted to pursue with the Thor unit was a certain accent that most people will find very familiar.
It's over, you idiots!
We brought the actor in and he absolutely nailed it. I mean, it sounded like Arnie in the booth. And he knew all the pop culture references and everything else that we used, and we used a bunch of them, and it was just a blast.